like other folk that we're reading, when he argues and he places it in contemporary context, that block opportunity is the thing or the issue that is predicting a street identity or street attitudes or street orientation in black men. That is the heart of this argument. Block opportunity, but more specifically, economic and educational opportunity. What does that mean? Someone says block opportunity, someone says economic and educational opportunity. I'm asking you to write about some structural system. But when someone says to you economic and educational opportunity or economic and educational social structural systems, what does that mean? Anybody. I'm on to pick someone. Anybody. Mr. Brown, what do we think? What is economic and educational opportunity?
I think it's that.
Okay, what is that?
I mean, I think like education, I mean, definitely is like having, you know, schools that are majority black, schools that are majority white, will have like the same types of resources, which in the time, I mean, either that.
Okay, let's take it. So which one is that? Schools. Which one is that thing?
Education.
Educational opportunity. Okay, anybody want to chime in with Mr. Brown? What is educational opportunity? Yep, Mr. Lee.
I guess just the access we have to education. And to me, it seemed like they went kind of hand in hand. The more education you got, the less likely you are to get a better job. Less education you have, the less likely you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ms. Pacheco?
It could also go with, like, the way that you're living, because a lot of times, if you live in a certain area, those pay for the schools. So if you have a low economic status, then your education is not going to be as high either.
Great point, great point, great point. I hope we all understood that. Do we understand how public schools are financed, everybody? How are they financed? Even though she just gave us the answer. How are they financed? For the most part, at least. I can't hear you say again? Absolutely. So, a place like Wilmington, their public school system is based off of the taxes, in part, that people from Wilmington pay. Right? So if we go to a place like Scarsdale in New York State, it's a very wealthy community. I believe that's where Bill Clinton have their home at. But in any event, this is New York State right outside of Manhattan. In any event, you can imagine what their schools look like. Right? If you're basing it on the taxes of a particular neighborhood or a particular community or a particular city. So if you live in a poor community, it has a lot to do with the type or kind or form of education that you will receive. Yeah?
Can you break down exactly how the lack of tax money or having a large reserve of tax money, how that works with the actual schools, how that makes them more or less competitive? I don't know if they necessarily understand.
Break that down.
Well, I'm saying that if you're talking about Scarsdale having the citizens of Scarsdale being in higher tax brackets, so they pay more taxes, what exactly does that mean for the public schools? Why is that necessarily a good thing or a better thing for the school versus a place like, you know, East Baltimore or something like that, where there's lower tax bracket? That's what I was talking about. As far as what does the tax money actually pay for the schools? I think people will say the taxes, but I want you to kind of...
It pays for it all, basically, for the most part. I mean, and taxes are not the only thing that run a public school system, although I would say that is a shared, sustainable, in most part, that's what's going to be used. But it pays for everything: infrastructure, school resources, you know, anything you can imagine: seats, desks, books. It pays salaries. It's chopped up and used in all kinds of ways. And then there have been recent arguments, particularly recent studies, that have looked at certain schools that have tried to come up with financial interventions, if you will, so they'll dump a whole bunch of money on a poor school system. And then when it doesn't turn around within that year or two, they'll take the money back and say, well, I told you money doesn't work. It isn't all about money. The kids have to be motivated. If the kids aren't motivated, then they aren't going to learn. So they play a lot of money games, if you will. But taxes take care of everything. They take care of everything, for the most part. Second point, and also let me just, because you reminded me that you said it, Mr. Gibson, excuse me, the article for the most part is taking place in Baltimore, for the most part, although there are references made to national statistics and things of that nature. Second point, Ekholm argues that the lack of upward mobility for black men is mostly attributed to the poor educational opportunity, which cuts back or ties into Elisa's point that these things go hand in hand. Black opportunity is bigger than economic and educational opportunity, right? But this is the crux. According to Ekholm, definitely myself and other folk that we're reading, that are suppressing opportunity and suppressing particularly opportunity for black men. But ultimately, Ekholm is arguing that poor educational opportunity will always tie into poor economic opportunity. That they go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. We have to think about them in the same respects. Okay, I'm seeing a hand somewhere. Was it you? Yeah, Mr. Malone?
I was going to ask, you pay taxes if you're on welfare?
You pay taxes if you're on welfare? No, you don't actually. You don't pay like taxes like I might pay taxes. But no, you don't. Not in that way. But see, the thing is, under the Clinton administration, he radically changed the welfare. It was welfare reform, like to the next level, actually. So, in that respect, some folk can get financial assistance, right? May or may not be technically called welfare, and particularly if they have employment, then they definitely have to pay taxes on that. But there are welfare programs that expect you to work, so welfare to work programs, right? And in those instances, they have to pay taxes on their checks. But keep in mind, I mean, the welfare system is very complicated. You can get welfare, and you can get to such a level where you cannot work. So if you work, they'll take back those opportunities. Or if a man is in the home, they'll take back those opportunities. Or they can demonstrate in any kind of way that you're getting any kind of financial assistance from anybody, right? Then they will remove you from welfare, or they'll bring you down to I guess a lesser form, if you will. And welfare now is more temporary than it's ever been. So I know that at one point there was a 5-year period. A lot of times these policies shift. They shift. But under the Clinton administration, there was a 5 to 7-year period. So if you didn't find you a job, they were going to remove you. Period. All right? But what does joblessness actually mean? This is the definition of joblessness. So unable to find work, not actively looking for work, and being incarcerated. Right? That technically is what joblessness and unemployment means. Keep this in mind. Unemployment rates are misleading because typically these rates, right, so right now we got an unemployment rate of about 6.5%. Expected to go up to about 8%, right? In the black community, it's higher than that, right? But keep in mind, joblessness rates, or that unemployment rate, or that 6.5 unemployment rate that I just got finished talking about, for the most part, that rate does not include people not actively looking for work. That rate does not include folks who are incarcerated. So what we have with a 6.5% unemployment rate, that's actually a conservative estimate. That's actually misleading. That's actually not telling or demonstrating how many folk in our country are unemployed. That means we have a lot more folk that are unemployed than that. Okay? That's the definition. Demographic profile, highlighted in the article. There are approximately 5 million black men, right? Because the analysis, for the most part, focuses on black men between the ages of 20 and 39, or in their 20s or in their 30s. Lots of references made to that age group. According to the article, according to census data from 2000, there are approximately 5 million black men who fit that developmental profile, if you will, or that age range. Okay? In 2000, 65% of black male dropouts in their 20s were jobless. In 2004, black male dropouts in their 20s had grown to 72%. Jesus. When including black male graduates from high school, 50% of black men in their 20s were still jobless. Right? 50 to 60% of black men who dropped out of school in inner city, 50 to 60% of black men drop out of school in inner city America. That's half of all black men in this country, particularly in inner city black America, are dropping out of high school. And this is what the article highlights. When we put incarceration in the mix, it gets even more complicated. 34% of black men in their 20s without a high school degree have been incarcerated. 30% of black men by mid-30s with a high school degree have been incarcerated. And 60% of black men by the mid-30s without a high school degree have also been incarcerated. So this number jumps up when we get to the 30s.